Namaskar. Welcome to Ek Samvaad at Arunim Ankuran. Today we are having a conversation with Mrs.Aasawari Shenolikar about self-discovery, about her journey from genetics to journalism. Life is a process of self-discovery, and no experience is ever wasted. It only brings us closer to our evolution. So it's a pleasure and privilege to have Asawari with us today on Ek Samvaad. She is Deputy Editor of The Hitavada. So welcome to Ek Samvaad, Asawari. Thank you so much for being here.
A pleasure, absolutely a pleasure, Pragya.
A word about Arunim Ankuran. It is an initiative for positive social change through self-development. The goal is greater well-being and happiness for all. At Arunim Ankuran, we believe that each person is unique and special in some way, that each person can make a difference, that each person can leave an impact, and that's what inspires us. The process of writing can be a powerful tool of self-discovery. Writing demands self-knowledge. It forces the writer to become a student of human nature, to pay attention to his experience, to understand the nature of experience itself. By delving into raw experience and distilling it into a work of art, the writer is engaging in the heart and soul of philosophy and making sense out of life. So we have Asawari with us. Asawari, welcome to Ek Samvaad again.
Thank you so much, Pragya.
So tell us a little about yourself, Asawari.
Okay, so Pragya, I have been working with the Hitavada. Now it will be 30 years I've been with the organization, and I started as a sub-editor and have risen to the post of deputy editor. Initially, I've done my schooling from Delhi. I was in Balbhati Air Force School. Then I went to Delhi University. I did my BSc Botany honors. Then I did my MSc Genetics from there. And then I got married, came here. I did my law here because I was very fond of studying. And, when I got married, in the circle of friends, my husband was the first to have gotten married. I did not have any friends here, any female friends. And, coming to Nagpur from Delhi was a cultural shock for me. So I think I took refuge in books once again and went and joined law. I completed my law. And then when I was thinking of, either going into practice, then I found that, I'm not much of an orator and, going into a court is not going to make sense. So I thought, chalo, let's do LLM. But then, just by that time, Hitavada came up with the advertisement for sub-editors. They needed people to join them. And it was I was very fond of writing. I used to be the editor for this college magazine. So I thought, chalo, let's give it a try. Went there, appeared for the interview, gave a written test, and they called me. So that is how I came to be associated with the Hitavada. Then during this entire journey, of 30 years, I've been associated mostly with the magazine department, but it's not that as if I've not been a part of the other departments, so that has involved a lot of writing. And then magazines, during the course of all these years, we've had loads of new magazines, new supplements that were introduced. Some were designed by me. A few came into, when I had joined, they were already there. So I worked on those magazines, but there were lots of magazines like Wow, which used to deal with, it was a women-oriented magazine. Then we came down to Women's World. Then there was a magazine to deal with, the real estate. Then there was Future, which was a career-oriented magazine. Then there was Money. Then we came up, because Twinkle Star was already there. But Mr. Fanchikar thought, that we need to make more inroads. Mr. Fanchikar is our editor. So he thought that we needed to make, more inroads into the students' life. So then we thought of, doing a school-centric magazine wherein, a Twinkle Star comes with the Hitavada every Saturday, but when we wanted to take these magazines to the children in their schools. And that is how, we sat one day, we designed the Knowledge magazine and made inroads, So all these magazines have been developed, designed by me, sitting down with Mr. Fanchikar, with the artist. It's basically a teamwork. Nobody can take credit ki bhai humne hi kiya hai. So, so many minds getting together and doing that work. Then besides all this, I do a lot of movie reviews. I do a lot of interviews of celebrities. Then I've been associated with the Thinkline Series. I have a column called In Jest. So that is how, this beautiful journey into the world of journalism from genetics.
Wow. So this is really amazing. Asawari, had you ever thought that it's going to turn out like this?
Actually, no, because see, I had wanted actually to do my PhD in genetics, but then, the Indian mindset is, we were three sisters. And when there are three daughters in the family, the first and foremost thing, on the parents' mind is, ki bhai, shadi kab karenge? So when I told them I want to do PhD, they said no. So which is why, they said, ki nahi bhaiya, abhi shadi karke jao, because there are two more. Yeah, I'm the eldest in the family. So this is how I came here. And then because I think I was fond of writing, so this has been, a very self-exploratory, what you had read out in the beginning, So I think I do identify with that, because there is a lot of introspection that goes on during this journey. You meet a lot of people, you read, you because you are in this profession, you tend to read a lot, and that is how the interest grows. So it's been a very fulfilling, very enriching experience, and every day is a new day for us.
That's absolutely true. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh, so, Asawari, from the time that you were a student and studying law, genetics, so many diverse things, So, do you think that brings value to what you do now? Because so many diverse courses you've done in terms of
Uh,
academics. So, being
yes.
journalist,
So yes, it does broaden your horizon, because then, I mean, again, like because you say it's diverse. So if I am reading something about science, I understand it. If I read something about law, I mean, I might not go into the nitty-gritties of it, the detailed explanations I might not understand, but then, it really, any kind of education, I think, just broadens your horizon. So that is the beauty of doing different things at different times, I think, in anybody's life.
that's so true. That's absolutely true. So, what would you say are some of the milestones, that played a very important role in your evolution as a person? Not just as a
See,
journalist, but as a person.
as a person, I would say, the first milestone, I mean, let's take professional milestones first and foremost. So like I told you, I am not an orator. I have never stood in front of a podium. I have never conducted. I was never into any debates or elocution in the school or the college team. I've always been, a doer, but the background. I've always been behind the scenes. So here, once there was a program which, an office program which was to be held, and Mr. Vijay Panchikar, he came home and he said, you have to anchor the program. Now, that was thank you, bhaiya, main kar hi nahi sakti hu. So he says, no, you have to do it. And it was, he came at night at about 10. We didn't have any internet at that time. I mean, I didn't have an internet at home. So I went to a cafe, I typed out whatever was to be done, told him ki bhaiya abhi band mat karo. Let me, just do this. And that was the first time I stood in front of a podium, and anchored the program. And then, this kind of a thing, because the confidence level grew. And I, hats off to Mr. Panchikar ki bhaiya, he will always support and encourage people, standing behind like a solid rock. And he will say, ki, okay, go ahead and do it. I'm there for you. And then we had the other milestone, I would say, was, when we had the centenary celebrations where the president, Mrs. Pratibha Patel, she was to grace the occasion. And, there was a lot of discussion going on that this should be given to an event management company, because it was a huge program. So, and that somebody professional should be anchoring the show. So Mr. Panchikar stood his ground. He says, nahi, hum log in-house karenge. My team will do it. And he said, anchor kaun karega? So he said, Asawari. So Mr. Banwarilal Purohit, the head figure, so he says, unko Hindi aati hai kya? So he said, haan, aati hai. So then, right from writing down the script, discussing it with him daily, and, all that 2-month process of making the coffee table book, that was a huge teamwork. And then sitting there in front of the president, beside the president, not right beside her, but, the podium next to the president, and hosting the program in front of the entire Nagpur. Now that was a milestone in my journey, which I will never, ever forget. So, and then, the biggest compliment was when Mr. Purohit called me to his cabin and he said, "Ab to star ban gayi hai Nagpur ki. Itni achhi Hindi kahan se bolni aati hai aapko?" So, but the biggest fear that time was, when I was, because it was at 3 months, this entire process was going on, and office mein jate hue, while drinking tea, introspecting, while driving, I would always have this fear in my mind ki instead of saying Mananiya Rashtrapati ji, what if I, utter Mananiya Pradhan Mantri ji? So that fear was there always in my mind. But thankfully, nothing like that happened. And I think, this was a huge milestone. And then during a course of so many meetings that we hold with our children, entire Vidarbha, when we go for our knowledge magazine series. So there was this girl in Amravati. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. But then after the program got over, she came and she said, "I would like to say a few words." And she'd come with a stack of Twinkle Star magazines. And she said, "Ki these are the editorials. Every week I read the editorials and I learn something, So that was such a huge thing, even if I'm able to make a little bit of positive influence in anybody's mind. So that's a huge plus point for anybody, a teacher, a mentor, a person like me, so that I am bringing about a little bit of positive change. So that was, and then it's really a huge pleasure when people address me as Twinkle Auntie. So I never say Auntie. Oh, I said, go ahead.
That's lovely, Asawari. That's beautiful.
And on a
And see,
personal front, when I was talking to my daughter, so she said, you'd better say that I have been the biggest and the most important and significant milestone in your life. And now who am I to disagree? I have to agree with that.
yes, of course, becoming a mother, actually, you become a different person altogether. And that is
Absolutely.
also very, very life-changing experience indeed.
Yeah.
I think one very important thing that, I would like us to talk a little more about, Asawari, is because public speaking is something that a lot of people fear.
Hmm.
And, from your own assessment, you were one of those people who felt that way. But I've seen you doing such a great, beautiful job at that literary festival which we had. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so, for children, for students, for people who are probably feeling the way you used to feel earlier, what are some of the
Mhm.
things that helped you to overcome that?
See, first and foremost was, preparation is a must. And then initially, I would write down and take it, even when I was going to schools. And I would, I was apprehensive of standing in front of a mic and addressing the students, and which this is a must whenever you go to school. So they say कि भैया आपको address तो करना ही पड़ेगा. And then school going was a must because I was associated with children. So all the principals at that time, would encourage me and say, "ठीक है, आप लिख के लेके आ जाओ, and we don't mind you reading." And then, after a certain point of time, I could keep aside that paper, and then, probably what I have read, I would just remember it and then speak it out. But now it's probably, I think, extempore, depending on, the kind of function. So preparation, I think, is a must. But then these days, I think children are very, very smart. They are not like us, yeah, when we were growing up. Super confident children these days, what I have seen.
That is true. And I think one of the things that you just said, that the confidence comes from doing it over and over and over. Now you can
Yes, that
speak. So, from your journey as a student and now as a journalist, what are some of those experiences or some of those people who had a major influence and they sort of turned it around for you or made an impact in a way that still remains with you, influenced you, let's say?
See, Pragya, I think all of us, when we are growing up, it's the teachers and the family that plays such a lot of influence in our lives. But then there are a couple of people that I would like to mention, and one of them is my maternal grandmother, my nanny, who used to stay with us. So the parents were working. She was the one, when we would come back from school, she was the one who would give us our lunch and generally keep an eye on us, and like she was a hawk in the house. So the minute she would, she would complain to mummy when if she would, catch us reading storybooks, or wo to pata chal jata hai, because she said the minute I see you not moving from the chair, so she knows that we inside, the history book or the geography book, I have a storybook, so the immediate, so then we always knew that she was there. She was a very hardworking person, an illiterate person, but then, she taught us all the good, the bad, the ugly of life. And then, of course, my parents, I mean, my mother also has had a great influence on me. Parents, I come from a very, very middle class family. So we used to stay in, there were 6 of us in a bedroom apartment. All my friends were like super rich, belonging to really, really well off affluent families. But then we didn't have the luxuries of life. We didn't have a car while growing up. We didn't have a telephone. But what my parents gave us was education, I think, and that has held us much, much in our respective fields. My youngest sister is a CA. She's a finance manager with GE working in US. My the second sister, she retired as a principal, So I think we've done well, and that the education has helped us. So this has been a huge influence in my life. Then second, in school, we had a teacher called Anjana Sharma. And she was a class teacher from the 4th to the 8th standard. So since I was one of those top students, first, second, third, aate rehte the, to wo bahut favorite the. And we also used to love it, 4 years with one teacher as the class teacher. So, and then, when we would be making results, and also she would ask a couple of us, to help her out. Ki bhai, tum marks batao, main likhti hu, yeah, I will tell you, and you write in the report cards and all. So that is how we would be helping her. So 8th standard mein, when, maths mein to mera pehle se hi dabba gol hai. So 8th standard mein 50 on 100. So I said, abhi to ghar jaake itni dhulai hogi ki pucho mat. So instead of, and she was right, when she was, telling the marks, instead of 30, I wrote 60. Of course, baad mein to pakdi gayi, to ghar mein to dhulai hui, wo to honi thi. But she was the one, who took me aside, who did not yell at me in front of the entire class. She did not humiliate me. She did not take me to the principal's office. She just took me aside and explained to me, that failing is all right. I mean, you don't really have to excel all the time. And this is what is going to teach you. And I think that is what I have learned. You really don't have to be the best every time.
So true.
So these are a few influences. And then, of course, in the office, Mr. Fanchikar has been a huge, huge mentor to me. Absolutely. I mean, I didn't have any experience in journalism, but then likho. So, just write anything, ensure it's correct English, and likho, show it to me. And that is how I think I also grew as a writer, because of his encouragement, his being there for me all the time. So these 3 people have had a huge influence in my life. Then my father-in-law, he was, with me through thick and thin. He passed away about 10 years ago, but then for him, I was a daughter, not a daughter-in-law. And now it's my daughter who stands there behind me, from whom I learn some or the other new thing every day. The only thing I have not learned, which she always tells me, I say no. That I have not learned from her yet. I cannot say no to people. And that is what she yells. You have to say no at some point of time. So I think all these people have had a huge influence on my life.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I think, from the conversation that we are having, Aasawari, there are certain things like students, for example, mathematics. Some people are they're just probably not good at it, or whatever we can call that. I think it's a very strong message that it's not the end of the world if you can't do your maths correctly. There are a whole lot of other things that you can do better than that, and still make a success of yourself and do things you love doing. You'll do them well. So,
Yes.
right? What does Aasawari do to have a good time? What is the thing that makes you feel happiest? What are your happiest moments?
I think the most happiest moment is when I'm there in the kitchen cooking something for somebody. That is, cooking is my stress buster. So that is something which I love doing. And I mean, if I was not a journalist, probably I would have opened up a small eatery somewhere, and
Oh, you
would
still
have.
do that. Still do that. Wow.
I love I love to listen to music. And these days with the OTT platforms, I think sometimes the content is so beautiful that I will just sit and binge watch something or the other. So traveling is another thing, since the time my daughter got married, now I've been ticking off one off the bucket list, yeah, jana hai. So that is what I love doing. I love exercising. I have a beautiful, wonderful gang of girls. So that is what my life right now is.
What is it about cooking, Asawari, that you really, feel is so enjoyable?
I think, what, I won't say it's a way to a man's heart, because my husband has never ever praised my cooking. But then, the others love, and I think it's just, I mean, I'm there in my own world, and the pleasure of feeding people is such that it gives me a great, great high. So that is what I mean. I was there with my daughter for a month now in the US, and during the month that I was there, 30 days, I must have cooked at least 60 dishes. I said, I'm not going.
Lovely.
We didn't go anywhere. So for them, I was just there standing in the kitchen. I mean, my son-in-law would come in and he would say, ये क्या कर रहे हो? I mean, he would be aghast at the, way his kitchen was. I said, कि तुम इधर आना ही नहीं, just go. When you evening, you will find your kitchen spick and span. But now let me just do my work.
Yeah,
So
that's lovely. Asawari, you spoke about influencing young people, and I'm a big fan of the Twinkle magazine myself. Uh, you're also inspiring young people to write. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
Basically, the Twinkle Star is a magazine for the young. I mean, basically, we brought out this magazine because Mr. Panchikar, when I had joined it, it was already there with the Hitavada. So it was brought out with the idea that, because children didn't have anything to call as their own. Remember, we used to have Chanda Mama and Nandan and Champa. उसके बाद कुछ भी नहीं था. So there was nothing, in the English sector kind of a thing. So then he thought of this. And then this was also a platform where children could, send across their entries. And the thing is that once the child sees his name in print, then it encourages him to write more. And if you're writing more, that leads you to read more, because then you want to grow your horizons. So we've had loads of people like, Srinav Agarwal, he started writing, he started sending his entries. Then he influenced somebody called Yash Yadav, who keeps on sending his entries. The only my contention is that they should be original. And I always get back to, they send it on my email ID. I always get back to them the minute, pata chal jata hai ki if a child has picked up from, we know the internet language, so immediately you come to know. So I tell them, you read, nobody is perfect. I mean, even if I have to write something, probably I will also go check the facts and figures, and then I will put in my own thing. But we are not copying. So I tell them, the minute you start copying, wo aadat lag jati hai and you will never have your original thoughts. So that is my contention. And the children follow it. I mean, it is always, okay, we're sorry, we should not be doing it, we will take care. But over the period of time, the clan of writers has really, really grown. And especially during this pandemic period, children didn't have anything to do. So they were reading, writing, sending it to me, watching their names in print, and they're feeling very happy about it. So that is how. And then, of course, for the college people, we also have the youth zone, which comes out every Monday. So that is, I think, the USP of Hitavada, involving more and more people in the family and extending it as you know it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the people's paper. And so, if somebody who's listening in would like to start writing, some kids, maybe students, what would you like to share with them, Asawari?
First and foremost, to read and then write and send your original thoughts. I mean, let it be original. and then send it across to me. I will do a little bit of editing, but I will not, I will keep your thought intact, and and that is how I mentor them also. It's basically I am not talking to them, but then over the email I will tell them कि भैया कैसे करना है कैसे. This is basically for kids. मैं बड़ों को नहीं बताती हूँ, बड़े तो वैसे ही होशियार रहते हैं भेजने में like you.
So, as a journalist, Asawari, thank you for that compliment, though. As a journalist, you get to meet so many different people, and you recently met a musician. So if you can share some of the experiences that you've had and how it was talking to them.
So see, I mean, that is one huge plus point of being a journalist is first and foremost, before the TV channels invaded our homes, I would come home and say कि I would post कि मेरे को सबसे पहले news मालूम है. उन लोगों को तो they would come to read about it in the next day's paper. So that was a huge plus. And if it was not for this profession, I'm sure I would not have met the only person जिसको देख के मेरे दिल में कुछ कुछ होता है. So
Okay, then you need to talk to us about that, maybe. Talk to us about
this was, of course, I had met him 3-4 times before when I had gone to, Bombay for certain interviews and stuff. But then this was during the Chak Day time, just before his movie was releasing. So I get this call from his PR agency and they say, we would like you to speak to Shah Rukh Khan. So I said, ठीक है, connect कर दो. So then something or the other happened. So they said, no, we will give you a number to him and then he will call you up. तो मैंने कहा अभी वो कहाँ पे call करेगा ना? I mean, if the PR agency connects, that's a big thing. So at about 10:30, no, it was not 10:30, about 11 or so, I was watching something on the television and this call comes and he said, hello, is that Asawari? So I said, ये आवाज तो बहुत जानी पहचानी है. तो I said, पर ये मेरे कोई दोस्त की आवाज नहीं है. And then he says, this is Shah Rukh Khan speaking. I mean, I literally fell off the sofa, And then we talked for, 15-20 minutes. We talked about Chak Day and, general, whatever. And then the call got disconnected. Now that 20 minutes was enough for me to make my copy. But then he called back again. He says, I'm sorry, we were disconnected. Let's continue. And then, it was another 10-15 minutes of conversation. So then what I did was I opened my door, I rang my neighbor's bell, and I had this huge smile on my face. And he says, "Kyun Shah Rukh Khan ka phone tha kya?" So that is what people knew about me, my feelings for him. And then I call up sir. Sir ki SRK had called up. So he says, okay, stop press, send your this thing immediately. So, this is what it is. I mean, I've met so many and everybody has been, most of them are pretty humble, down to earth. Probably because we're journalists, they are down to earth. I cannot say about that. But then I've always had really good interactions. Now with, Rahul Deshpande also, when I went to meet him, his PR person said, okay, go to room number 407. So when you see these celebrities, they have so many hangers on, the PR people, people from the city itself who want to meet him and or probably from his troupe. So I went to his room, I rang the bell, so he says, please come in. The door is open. I went inside, he was sitting there all alone. So I said, Rahul, ye kya hai? Tu kis tarah ka celebrity hai? There is no hangers on, He says, that's the way I am. So there's so many, all these, some of them are really, really humble and down to earth. Not at all arrogant, very nice to talk to. So, and then you meet from each person, you learn from each person in your journey, which I think I have also done.
Yeah. So, okay, that is very interesting, Asawari. What are some of the things that you sort of learned through these experiences? Which you'd like to share?
See, first and foremost is I am very amenable. I am there on call all the time for anybody. I answer, I pick up my phone. If there is a missed call, I answer. And I know that, arrogance doesn't take you anywhere. So it is why people remember you is because if they respect you, they will always remember you. So this is what I have learned from others, and this is what I tend to follow also. So I try to be nice to people, and I think I'm a nice person, as the others tell me. So
Absolutely. So, Asawari, coming from the Chak the India context, journalists can do a lot for sports persons. So has there been any interaction in which you felt that this is a space where they really need the media to support them and play a role? What is the role you see for journalists with reference to sports?
Um, See, I think, what, sports is a very, still a very underrated sort of, I wouldn't say profession, but, people really don't look at sports except for the cricketers, who are like demigods in the country. But then the government has to take others sports also into their purview, and, probably give equal uh, status to these sports people. I used to play, so, sports is very close to my heart. My daughter was a national champion roller skating for 10 years, so, we have gone through that process
Hmm.
of the highs and the lows, how the politics also play a huge part in the sports. So I think politics and sports should not come into play at all. This should be a totally different arena. And if the journalists keep on writing about this, probably some difference can be made in this. Hey, the process is ongoing.
Hmm.
I will say that. So we just need to take that forward.
Yes. Mm. So you're obviously a voracious reader, Asawari. Talk to us about some books probably that you read in the recent times and enjoyed reading.
See, I am not into philosophy or biographies and,
Mhm.
these kind of reading. I love reading um, spies and thrillers and the CIA and the KGBs. So right now I have just bought David Baldacci's key series, and I am just, I will be reading those. So that is what is there on the anvil now.
Yeah, so there is that law student somewhere inside her, finding
Probably.
finding a
Or just
connection.
or probably just a criminal mind.
No, there is another connection with the raw also, I think. Talk to us about
Yes,
that. I think we missed talking about that.
exactly. No, so that is exactly what, I have been told. You should have been a spy. So
Tell
says that.
us about that experience, Asawari.
I am not allowed to talk about that because this was a confidential post. But then I was there barely for a year, after my MSc. Then I appeared for an exam, and then I was an assistant and working with them. But then when I got married, the only thing is, I probably what I regret now. But then, of course, you lose some, you win some. If I had
Yes.
stayed if I had stayed with Raw, I would not have come to Hitvad. I would not be talking to you. So I could have gotten a transfer to the CBI office here, but then these people did not want somebody to work, their daughter-in-law to work, because my mother-in-law was ailing. And my mother, who was a working professional, she was very happy कि मेरी daughter को कोई भी काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा बाहर जा करके.
Hmm.
So she was very happy about that. But then again, like I said, you win some, you lose some. I'm very glad to be a part of the Hitwad. Very glad to be talking to you,
Thank
making
you.
new friends.
So, this question of, should women work or should they not work? And what is your perspective on women's empowerment?
I think see, again, if I say every woman should work, so that is being very unfair to the person who's sitting at home and not working. So she is equally important. The housewife, the mother is equally important. For us, it's, juggling between work and home. But then for her also it is, she's taking care of the entire household. And it's as tough for her as it is for us. But then having said that, I think women empowerment is a must, because uh, it that is how we will grow.
Yes. I think the power of making choices, probably,
Yes,
that
yes.
is. So also about the youth, Asawari, because you have a connect with the youth through all the work
Hmm.
that you're doing. How do you see them? Do you think they're focused? Do you think they have a sense of direction, or what is your perspective?
Um, difficult question, I mean, you cannot just put everybody into one enclosure and say you have, sections, somebody who is very focused, and then some who are just wayward. But then a little bit of, I think, that also goes to the parents, because that focus these days comes from the parents, the parental pressure, right from pehle to 9th 10th was, ki bhai focus in this direction. Now it is all these classes 5th se 6th se wo chalu ho jata hai. So the like I said, let's take the example of Srinath Agarwal. It's like he was very, very focused in what he wanted to do. So even if he had gotten into IIT, he said, "Ki nahi bhai, mujhe, I want to go the research way." And that's exactly what he's doing. So his parents also have a huge role to play. So parents need to play a very positive role in today's youth. And then I have also seen parents who will not utter a single word to their child, fearing this कि अगर हमने कुछ बोला और उसने कुछ कर लिया. So somewhere down the line, I think the parents are erring. We have always had parental supervision. They would not get after us because you and I have grown up, in that era when we took each day as it came, or probably each year, 8th के बाद 9th, 9th के बाद 10th, फिर BSc, फिर MSc. यहाँ पे एक तो parental pressure है. Sometimes it is bad, sometimes it is good. But then both ways, I think, the youth is focused, and there are some who are absolutely wayward. It's very difficult to put them in the same enclosure.
That's true. In the context of the way you look at society, socially speaking, some of the values that you think we need to hold on to, and some of the things that we need to let go.
I think we need to hold on to a culture. That is a huge thing. And here we see, the Western influence taking over our entire youth. So somewhere down the line, we need to really teach our children about how rich our country is, the respect and the values that we had for our elders. They need to be taught that. And but it's very difficult, how do you ingrain these values into them is a big, like I said, because these days the parents are very scared of how the children will react. So which is why I see parents not saying anything to the children. I mean, they're just letting them go. So these values of respect, of integrity, of honesty is what we need to really, really hold on, and we need to work towards that.
Is there a message that you have, Aasawari, before we conclude this Samvad, for the students particularly, because you are closely connected to their magazine, and you share beautiful information through your editorial, so something that would help the students.
So I think what I would like to tell them, that they have to push harder than yesterday if they want a better tomorrow. So they need to, each day needs to be a better day. And plus the lines of communications these days, I think, between the parents and their children's, somewhere down the line, I think we are losing out on that also. There is just no communication. So we need to open those lines once again. How we are going to do it, it's the invasion of the gadgets that has had a huge influence on everybody. I mean, we are all affected by it. I mean, I would also, the first thing that I do is in the morning, what I do is I pick up my phone to see kiska message aaya, kiska nahi aaya, kya hai. This is what somewhere we need to curtail this, and we need to set an example for our children to follow. Again, the parents need to do that. So these lines of communications have to be open. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very, down the line, it's going to be very bad for the society.
That's really one of the major concerns, I think. The idea of, say, the parents care, even if they're physically missing, they should always be present in the lives of their children. That disconnect is what creates trouble, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So true.
Thanks a lot, Aasawari, for your time, and it was wonderful talking to you.
Absolutely a pleasure, Pragya.
Aruni
And
Mankuran is grateful to you for being on
no,
Ek Samvaad.
and I think you're doing a wonderful job, because I've been watching all the videos that you send across, from different sections of the society. You're picking up people and talking to them and getting them across to all of us. You were doing a wonderful job. So thank you so
Oh,
much,
that's
Pragya.
lovely. Thank you so much, Asawari. Thanks a lot.